Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Tuesday, December 17th. Right now we're talking about the first overall pick. Can the Jaguars, with 3 weeks left in the 2024 campaign, still get the first overall pick? Before they beat the Titans, they were in the lead. They were in pole position for the first overall pick. But the Jaguars went and beat the Titans a couple weeks ago. Obviously, they just lost to the Jets, so they didn't lose any ground in the chase for number one overall. And I know a lot of fans don't like to hear this type of talk. They want to hear this football team talking about winning games, even games that are pointless. But the fact of the matter is, this is where the Jaguars are. They are a 3-11 football team, and there is more importance on the future than there is the present. You're looking at a coaching staff that is dead in the water. They're on a sinking ship. I hate to be hyperbolic, but I don't think I am being. I really think that Doug Peterson and company are done. I think the front office is also going to go. I'm not sure about that, but I think that's what will happen. So the future is absolutely more important than the present for the Jaguars, especially when you consider the fact that Trevor Lawrence isn't even playing games. And whatever side of the fence you fall on with Trevor Lawrence, again, the fact of the matter is he is the Jaguars franchise quarterback, whether you like it or not. He will be in Jacksonville for years to come. He is who the Jaguars are building around. I think folks should be excited about that. I know not everyone is. So we're talking about the first overall pick. Can the Jaguars still get the first overall pick? Yes, they can. There are some things that need to happen in order for the Jaguars to secure the first overall pick. They are currently sitting in the 4th spot. They jumped the Panthers due to strength of schedule changing this week. The Panthers' strength of schedule improved, and it got harder. Their schedule, their opponents' combined record improved. So the Jaguars were able to jump them, right? Again, the Jaguars currently sitting in the 4th spot behind the Raiders, Giants, and Patriots. The Giants and Raiders are both 2-12. So they have one less win than the Jaguars. There are 5 total teams that are 3-11, including the Jaguars. So let's talk about the Raiders, who are currently at 1. Tiebreakers again come down to strength of schedule. Whichever team has the weakest strength of schedule gets the better draft pick in round 1, and then it rotates from round to round if there's a tie in the standings. The way Tankathon lists strength of schedule is by using all 17 opponents. So they are tallying strength of schedule for the entire season, week by week, as it changes. And it is subject to change week to week based on how a team's 17 opponents during that season perform week to week. If a team has, like the Panthers this past week, has a week where their 17 opponents win some football games, you can move down in the draft order, right? So nothing is entirely locked in from a strength of schedule standpoint. It's fluid. It changes week to week. That's important to note. But for the Jaguars to get the top pick, they have to lose out. Bottom line. They have to lose out, and they need to lose to the Raiders this weekend in Vegas. They need to lose to the Titans in Jacksonville. They need to lose to the Colts in Indianapolis. As of right now, if the Jaguars lose out, and lose to the Raiders, obviously, this weekend, they would jump the Raiders because the Jaguars have a weaker strength of schedule than the Raiders. Both teams are likely in that scenario to finish with 3, maybe 4 wins. And again, the team with the weaker strength of schedule would be ahead in draft order in the first round. So again, if the Jaguars lose out, including a loss to the Raiders, they would jump the Raiders. The Giants, who currently hold the 2nd overall pick, who are 2-12, they play the Falcons, Colts, and Eagles. Could they win one of those games? Maybe, but probably not. They're not as good a football team as any of those teams. I believe the Giants have the top shot at the number 1 overall pick. I think that they are the most likely team to earn the number 1 pick. However, again, that would require the Raiders to either win a game or their strength of schedules to move. And The Raiders' current strength of schedule is 538. The Giants is 550. So they are very close. It's very possible that if both of those teams lose out, that the Giants jump the Raiders and become the team with the first overall pick. Very, very possible. Those two teams are obviously the most likely to get the number one pick because they're the only 2-12 teams. Everybody else has at least 3 wins. The Patriots, who are also in front of the Jaguars right now due to strength of schedule, but they're also 3-11, they play the Bills twice and the Chargers. Not very likely to win either of those games. The Patriots have a weaker strength of schedule right now than the Jaguars, but not by much. The Patriots are at 462. The Jaguars are at 483. So that could flip. If both teams lose out, it's possible that the Jaguars could jump the Patriots with some slight changes in strength of schedule over the next 3 weeks. Among the rest of the 3-11 teams, the Panthers are extremely close to the Jaguars with strength of schedule. Again, the Jaguars are at 483 right now. The Panthers are at 496. So that draft order could change. The Titans are not far behind either. The Titans are at 508. The Jaguars are at 483. That could flip, and those two teams play each other again. So there's going to be huge implications on the draft in that game. The Browns are likely out of the running of all of the 3-11 teams, in my opinion. They're at 525. So they've got, 40 points on the Jaguars when it comes to strength of schedule. Could some massive swings happen? Yes, they could. Do I expect that to be the case? No, I don't. And the Cleveland Browns, they play the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Ravens. Could they win one of those games? Absolutely. Will they? Probably not. Probably not. So, as I said at the beginning, there's a lot of things that have to happen for the Jaguars to end up with the number one overall pick. I would project the Jaguars to finish no lower than 8th or 9th, and that's, not the most ideal situation. And while they could still get the number one pick, I would guess the highest they would finish is about 4th. I'm currently projecting them to finish in the 6 to 8 range. A lot of these teams that are in this conversation don't really have much of a chance to win football games. I don't see the Patriots winning a game. I don't see the Giants winning a game. I honestly don't see the Raiders winning a game. And the Raiders play the Jaguars this weekend, which means I think the Jaguars are going to be 4-11 following this upcoming week. I think the Jaguars are going to beat the Raiders. Now, the Jaguars have not been a consistent football team, but the Raiders have not been consistent either, obviously. They're 2-12. They have a real bad quarterback situation. I think when you look throughout the Raiders' depth chart right now, in their coaching situation, I just have a hard time seeing it. I have a hard time seeing the Jaguars losing to the Raiders. I'm 10-4 this year picking the Jaguars game, so I've been able to see it fairly clearly, especially as of late. You look at the Las Vegas Raiders and their depth chart. Crosby's down, right? He's not playing. Christian Wilkins is on IR. Malcolm Kuntz is on IR. It's Desmond Ridder and Aiden O'Connell, quarterback. They just don't have a lot to get excited about outside of like Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, right? So I don't see it. Could the Raiders win? Yes. But again, I'm talking about projecting. I think the Jaguars are going to win that game, and I think they're probably going to win one of the final 2 games against the Colts and Titans. The Jaguars, they do well against those two franchises. In recent years, they do pretty darn well overall against those two teams. And the Titans are a mess. The Colts are a little bit less of a mess, but the Jaguars have really had the Colts number over the last several years. Under Doug Peterson, the Jaguars have kind of owned the Colts. So again, I think the Jaguars are going to beat the Raiders. They're going to finish with 4 or 5 wins, probably 5, and end up finishing outside the top 5. But again, in that 6 to 8 range. I expect 2 quarterbacks to come off the board before that. I expect Travis Hunter to be gone. But that will leave at least one of, Mason Graham, fantastic interior defensive line prospect who the Jaguars would be lucky to land. Malachi Starks, who plays safety, obviously. I think the Jaguars could definitely use a safety of his caliber. Both of those prospects, for me, are blue chip prospects. I have zero question about their NFL projection. Bottom line. You also have Will Johnson. I have, at this time, zero questions about his NFL projection outside of the fact that he's been dealing with the foot injury. I would like to see him be able to participate in the combine and run and just see that again. Just because, most recently we've been seeing that injury, right? That would be good for his draft stock, in my opinion. Will Johnson, another, again, for me, blue chip cornerback, if we get to see that pre-draft process, if we can get a 40 time and just see him moving around out there a little bit, that would be fantastic. Whether it's at the pro day or the combine, I would love that. Abdul Carter is also a blue chip prospect for me. The Jaguars have a lot of edge talent already. They don't have edge depth though. Eric Armstead, despite playing edge this year, is not an edge player. He is an interior defensive lineman. I am hopeful that the next regime will realize that and play him as such in 2025, which would mean Abdul Carter, if drafted by the Jaguars, as a third edge rusher, could get a lot of run. Normally you're drafting a starter in the top 10, but, having a beastly edge rush, and I think Abdul Carter would quickly be earning reps on third down. And could I see a situation where you get in your lightning package or whatever you want to call it, and you have Josh Hines-Allen, Eric Armstead, Trayvon Walker, and Abdul Carter on the field together? Absolutely, I could see that. So I think they can play together against the pass in clear pass rushing situations. I don't know how you get them all on the... you could have Abdul Carter as a downhill linebacker as well. He's done that in the past. I would prefer him just sticking to edge personally, but you could do that. Is drafting a third edge rusher the most... especially when you have Josh Hines-Allen on a second contract, a huge contract, and Trayvon Walker is going to be up for a new contract after the year. So it's not like you're even probably going to be clearing a runway for Abdul Carter to potentially be a top starter. Now, you could say, hey, we're not going to extend Trayvon, but gosh, that would be disappointing. That would be really disappointing. Beyond those guys, I have one more blue chip prospect, and that's Ashton Jeanty, the running back out of Boise State, who is a just fantastic back. For me, he is squarely in the class of Bijan Robinson, of Jahmyr Gibbs, who I didn't have Jahmyr Gibbs as high, but he's clearly a fantastic back, more specific type of back. But, Bijan, I still think Saquon's a little bit freakier, but he's a blue chip back. Ashton Jeanty is, because he has all the explosiveness you could ask for. He's, 5'9", 215, 220, ball of muscle, incredible contact balance, tackle breaking ability. He has great lateral cuts, jump cuts, great vision and patience. Again, the explosiveness to get past defenders, to hit the edge. He can run any type of run scheme you're looking for. He's good in pass pro. He's a talented pass catcher. I know running back, top 10 is a little taboo, but to me, if all the blue chip guys are gone, besides Jeanty, I would take him. I would absolutely take him. And if I took him, I would make sure that I'm got power at right guard, and I have a plan for the future at center as well. Because taking a player like Jeanty when you don't have a good run blocking offensive line, you're not going to maximize that pick. But he would take a lot of pressure off the rest of the offense. a lot of pressure off the defense with his ability to control the ball. Tetairoa McMillan or Will Campbell would be my next up. My guys that are next up. Will Campbell for me would be a blue chip prospect in all likelihood if I had tape of him actually playing on the interior, which I just don't. He's played tackle. I expect him to play interior. Like if you wanted to draft him to play right guard, I think that could really work out. The only reason Tetairoa McMillan I don't have as blue chip is because I don't think he has elite speed. And, to be a blue chip receiver for me, you need to be a guy that's running in the 4.4s. Now, does that prevent him from being a really talented, great wide receiver one? No. But I'm talking about zero questions about the projection, right? When I'm talking about blue chip. Question McMillan's speed a little bit. And with Campbell, it's the projection of going inside. But they're still going to have great options on the board if they finish in the range I'm talking about them finishing in. Again, I expect them to beat the Raiders. I expect them to probably beat one of the Titans and Colts as well. I expect them to have 5 wins at the end of the year. 6 would surprise me just because seeing this football team play enough mistake-free football to win 3 straight games would be surprising. But I expect them to win at least 1 and probably 2. So there you have it. That's my look at the Jaguars' chances to get the number 1 overall pick, which would be desirable in many ways because A, you get your choice of player. B, if you have the number 1 overall pick, there's a chance that a team wants to trade up for Cam Ward, for Shedeur Sanders, whichever one it may be, and make sure that they have their pick of the top quarterback. So I don't think that's going to happen. That would be pretty surprising to me if it happens, but it could, certainly, in the ways we talked about. But I expect the Jags to finish somewhere around 6 to 8 in all likelihood. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you want to support the channel further, you can check out jinjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. Y'all have a good one.